was supposed to be another glamorous night in California just turned into a moment tea. Hat could change everything, and no one saw it coming. Night fell over Montecito, but inside that world of polished appearances and quiet power, something had already begun to fracture. Meghan and Harry arrived at what should have been just another high-profile gathering, another chance to be seen, to stay relevant, to remind everyone they still belong in those elite circles. The setting had all the right ingredients: influence, exclusivity, carefully curated conversations. But this time, the energy was different. There were pauses where there shouldn't have been, glances that lingered a little too long, conversations that stopped just short of comfort. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was unmistakable. Something had shifted, and then came the moment that changed everything. A single stance, calm, controlled, but absolute. No drama, no confrontation, just a line drawn, and suddenly the room adjusted. What followed wasn't chaos, it was silence. But in circles like these, silence is louder than anything else. Within minutes, the atmosphere turned cautious. People who had once leaned in, leaned back. Conversations became shorter. Smiles became tighter. And just like that, access, the one thing that had always been guaranteed, no longer felt certain. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because this wasn't just about that night. As the evening settled, attention quietly shifted backward to a past connection, a private gathering years ago, one of those elite events where powerful networks form behind closed doors. At the time, it meant nothing. No, it meant everything. Not because of what was confirmed, but because of what was suggested. And in a world driven by perception, suggestion is enough. By the next morning, the ripple effect had already begun. Invitations, quietly paused. Collaborations, reconsidered. Partnerships, put under revive. No headlines, no public statements, just doors, slowly stopping their opening. Back in Montecito, the impact hit fast. Harry, caught in the middle, reportedly scrambling to understand what had just unfolded. D.calls being made, messages sent, but clarity, nowhere, because this wasn't just a social mist. P. This was a shift in positioning. G. And then came the part no one talks about publicly, the money. Behind closed corporate doors, conversations changed tone. This wasn't about creativity anymore. It was about our eyes. K. Contracts were reviewed. Clauses re-examined. Payments quietly delayed. D. The same deals that once symbolized independence were now being questioned. D. Not cancelled. Not yet. But paused long enough to send a message. E. And inside their home, the pressure started to show. Two people. One crisis, but completely different response. Meghan, focused, strategic, pushing forward, looking for ways to fight back and regain control. Harry, quieter, more distant, stepping back instead of pushing in. Same storm, different instinct. And that difference, T started to create space between them. Not loud, not sudden, but real. L. Then, across the Atlantic, something else began to stir. In London, the situation wasn't being seen as celebrity drama anymore. It was being watched, ed through a very different lens, one tied to reputation, legacy, and protection. both complicated, both costly. Why? Stay where he is, and face the uncertainty, the financial strain, the shifting alliance. Or move back toward a world he once left behind, structured, controlled, but stable. And here's the thing. His recent moves, they're starting to look less reactive and more deliberate. Quieter appearances, more distance, private conversations happening behind the scene. Not a dramatic exit, a calculated one, because sometimes the biggest decisions aren't announced. They're revealed, step by step. And now, everything is pointing toward one unavoidable question. Was that night just an awkward miss? Or was it the moment everything began to unravel?